Just saying.
More time. March. Left. Left. Over. Hold. Left. Face. Raise that. Arms. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Right. Face. Forward. March. Left. 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 Left.
All right, they will be back in momentarily to talk about their award. Let's go through the pledge or the approval of the minutes.
Just glancing down the row here, I see several of you, your mics did not turn on, so you might want to hit them.
So the approval of the minutes from May 20th, those have been presented. Were there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, come on in. So as they're coming in, we're very proud of this group, and I'm going to let them talk about their recent achievement and honors and introduce themselves. But again, thank you all for coming tonight. Certainly appreciate the time you spent and the honor that you gave us with the presentation of colors. So if you'd like to tell us about what happened recently.
So recently we had our JPA, they basically review all JROTCs and decide whether they're well operating and if they're doing what they should be. And so they came by and visited us, and we received the honors unit with distinction award with a, I believe, a 96%, right? Yeah. So we got a 96%, and something like that is amazing because only 15% of JROTCs, all military branches, receive something like that. And we worked really hard for it, and I'm really proud of how we did.
Anything to add?
Mayor, the two senior leaders are present right now. Cadet Joe Sellis is the battalion commander, and Cadet Timothy Robbins is the command sergeant major. So he would normally be doing these kind of things involving presentations in the public. This is all under his control. He put this all together. This is his doing. So he's the one who rehearses it, takes pride in it, and then gets knocked on it if he's not doing a good enough job. So, but we did, like I said, they represented the school so impressively. The inspections only come about every 4 to 6 years, and so it was actually our first inspection. So I was probably more nervous than they were. I just couldn't show it. But they were the ones who made it happen. This was their show, their briefing, their everything. My stuff only counted for like 30% of the grade. Theirs was the other 70. And so they represented us exceptionally well. And like I said, with programs, highly regarded programs like Marion to the south, Concordia Lutheran to the east, we fit in there really nicely. And it's good to be regarded among those top programs in the state as well.
And wasn't there a note that earning that honor unit of distinction does give them a privilege of applying to the military academy? Is that correct?
That's correct. They now have, I have nominating authority. This also requires the concurrence of the school principal so that they can go to a service academy. I can nominate anyone, but the problem is they've got to have the really good grades and the SAT, ACT, that kind of stuff. So they do have to pull their own as well to get to that point, because otherwise I'm just wasting a nomination.
Well, we're certainly proud of the Tiger Battalion. We see them all over town at all kinds of events, and we're, again, honored to have them here tonight for our council meeting, and would certainly invite you back at any time you wish to post colors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So another round of applause for the Tiger Battalion. All right, thank you. You're certainly dismissed, if you will, but allowed to stay if you want to watch the meeting, or you're again, welcome to leave.
Tiger Battalion, attention. Right face, forward, march. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. All right, welcome to all our visitors tonight. Good to see everyone. Let's, having no unfinished business, we'll move into new business. I will add, before we get started, the county has a petition to vacate an alley, and it was properly advertised and somehow did not get put on the agenda. This would require a first and second reading. Once we get through the rest of our agenda here, we'll refer to this. If you feel so inclined to entertain first reading tonight, I think it would be reasonable to do so, but I'll leave that up to the council. So, and that information has been presented to you by Mr. Minor. He's somewhere here. There is Chad. Thank you. All right, so let's start with the new business. Item number one, we've got just a couple conflict of interest disclosure statements. There's one for Diane. I think you've had a chance to look at it. Her involvement with the Watershed Foundation, and Jack, his employment at Zimmer Biomet, and oftentimes tax abatement requests to the city. So he's acknowledged that with just the annual disclosure statement. So I'd ask if there are any questions, and if not, is there a motion to approve those two conflict of interest disclosure statements?
I would move to approve those two.
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Item number three is the assignment of a tax sale certificate to the city from the county. So I'd ask Jeremy to come up and just discuss the purpose of this and what is required of us in this resolution 2019-0601.
From time to time, when the county has tax sales, we will review those properties that are up for tax sales to see if there's any interest in the city owning those, whether they be for redevelopment opportunities, new housing opportunities, or property that's in our interest to own. When I was reviewing that list, I had noticed that there was a property that our lift station sat on that was not owned by us, and thought, it'd probably be a pretty good idea if we owned that lift station. We did some deed research to see if we had received an easement or something like that in the past, and we could not find any easement. We did have record of why we had put it there and when it happened, but for whatever reason, the property was never transferred into our name. So pretty much that's what we're asking with this tax certificate sale is we would take ownership of that property that was subdivided off for the placement of the lift station and properly put it in our name so that there's no confusion going forward.
Questions?
I'll just say this is in my district, and I think it's a very good idea that we take ownership of that just little part on the corner right there that we don't own right now, but we do have lights and other things running through there, so we do need to be able to maintain it.
Any other thoughts?
Pretty important. Well, there's a couple more steps that have to go through, though. The county commissioners have agreed to assign this tax certificate to the city, but there's some additional notices that need to go out, and then a petition filed requesting the court to issue a deed to deed the property over to the city. So this is the initial step to move forward with the city acquiring this property through the tax sale certificate idea, but this is a good start, and I appreciate Chad Minor's assistance in all this, and the commissioners from Kosciuszko County.
So you all would have to approve this as the first step tonight in this resolution.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2019-0601.
All right,
Second that.
is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thanks, Jeremy. Lynn, 2019-0602 resolution regarding the investment of public funds.
Yeah, this is an annual resolution we have to do, so Baker Tilly can get all those nice quotes they get for us when our CDs come up for maturity, and we reinvest.
So, yeah, essentially this says that this isn't a local Board of Finance that picks these depositories. These are picked by the State Board of Finance, just under IC 513-9.5. And we do this annually, correct?
Correct. It used to be every 2 years, I believe, but in the last couple of years, they made it annually.
Questions?
I'd make a motion to approve. Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, got a few tax abatement CF1s. Did a lot last meeting, and looks like a few of them today, so I'll turn it over to Jeremy.
Yes, before you have two tax abatements, one for Texmo Precision Castings. This tax abatement was granted in the county at the time. Texmo's property was part of the annexation at the Airport Industrial Park. So that tax abatement will transition into our purview for oversight and approval. You can see the numbers. They spent around $2.3 million in real property and $2.4 million in personal property, and hired an additional 31 employees since 2016. And they submitted their tax abatement. I believe this would be roughly the third year of their abatement. The other abatements are for Depew. Depew filed a tax abatement in 2008 and 2011. These were both personal property tax abatements, so they weren't necessarily based on jobs. They were based on money invested. They invested $7 million in personal property in 2008, and they purchased an additional $3.5 million in personal property and $9.5 million in R&D equipment in 2011. The 2008, I believe, is in the 9th year of their tax abatement, and the 2011 is roughly in the 6th year of their tax abatement. My recommendation would be to grant both of them, and then I can explain a little bit about how the Airport Industrial Park, I know it came up the last time with that annexation and the tax abatements, as well as the tax abatements associated with the annexation.
Questions?
Yeah, Jeremy, we had a question last time when you guys weren't able to attend. What happens with the tax abatement when the original estimate on the SB1 is lower than what they actually ended up spending? Do they get the amount that they spent, or just up to what they estimated?
They get what they spend. It's like anything else. If you don't own something, you don't get taxed for it, you don't get abated for it. So if they estimate, and I always tell them to estimate as much as high as you want, because you can't get more. So if you say, grant them a tax abatement for $3 million and they invest $4 million, they don't get abated on $4 million, they get abated on $3 million.
Okay.
So it's in their best interest to estimate as close to and give a little cushion there, because a lot of this equipment may take a year or two to be manufactured for them to obtain it. So a lot of that is unknown at the time, so they're doing an estimate on what they think the equipment's gonna cost, because they have to have this abatement in hand prior to the purchase of any equipment. So they can't purchase equipment and then come in and ask for abatement. They have to receive the abatement prior to purchasing and prior to bringing it to the state of Indiana. So they only get abated on what they purchase. So if they estimate $3 million and they only spend 2.3, then they're only getting abated the 2.3 that they spent.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I move we approve both of these abatements.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or questions? I don't see any of the representatives from those companies here, so. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right,
So to give you a little bit of background, obviously, this is an industrial park, so when we annexed in, there were industries out there that had tax abatements on personal and real property. Going forward, those tax abatements will fall under our purview and our approval based on their approval when they were in the county. That tax abatement would continue, just like if they were still in the county, but only we would be the ones approving those CF1s. The annexation itself had a abatement on the city's portion of their taxes for the next 3 years. That abatement's kind of like having a mortgage deduction on your house, so they're not going to come forward and apply or submit a CF1 for those abatements because it doesn't have anything to do with economic development. It has to do with IC code that allows the city, when we go through a annexation, to grant a 3-year abatement to those properties within that annexation. So that 3-year abatement would be 75, 50, and 25, and it'll be on there as an exemption on their taxes for the next 3 years. You won't see a CF1 form for it. It'll just be granted as part of their taxes, and it's only on the city portion. So it wouldn't have anything to do with the existing taxes. It wouldn't have anything to do with county. We're not abating any county, township taxes or any of that. It's just that portion that is pertaining to the city.
Questions? All right, I appreciate you articulating that because that was a little uncertain. This is the first time we've faced that, I think, in some time, so thank you, appreciate it. All right, so do you all have a consensus to go ahead and hear this first reading on the petition to vacate the alley, Kosciuszko County?
Is that all right with everybody?
I'd like to hear what the man has to say.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's a yes, I take it.
yes.
All right,
Chad, is this an ordinance, did you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Uh-huh, yeah. So Chad Miner here on behalf of the Kosciuszko County Commissioners. Thank you all for hearing this tonight. I apologize, I'm not sure how, I probably missed a step that somehow I didn't end up on the agenda, but I passed out the petition, and if y'all look at the last page, that shows what it is that we're trying to get vacated. And it's if you're familiar with the Justice Building, it's the parking lot just to the north of the Justice Building, and there's an alley that runs east-west through the middle of that parking lot, which you can see on the map, but if you were there, you wouldn't see it at all. And then there's also an alley that runs to the north and south, kind of on the east side of that parking lot. And basically, the county's just wanting to get those vacated because obviously with the addition of Superior 4 and just with the growing needs that the county has, we can use all the parking that we can get. So by vacating those alleyways, then that frees up a little bit more space that we can use for additional parking. And I can tell you that, again, the east-west really is not usable at this point in time. You can't get from Lake Street to Washington Street through there. And the north-south alleyway from Fort Wayne to Main Street, I'm over at the Justice Building frequently, and I can't say that I've ever seen that alleyway used by a vehicle. Maybe, but not, I haven't seen it. So I'm sure people use it from time to time, but I haven't seen anybody that I can remember. So, so anyway, that's basically what we're, and all the notices have, or the notice has been published, mailed out notices to all the adjoining property owners. I have contacted or been contacted by several of them. None have expressed any objection to what we're trying to do. So,
Was there any concern with emergency services as far as getting fire engine or ambulance back in there?
I mean, I haven't heard anybody that expressed any concern about that. I mean, I think that alleyway is actually pretty narrow to
Yeah, it
begin with,
is.
so it would be hard to get something through there. And that area is pretty well accessible just through the roads that go around it.
Chad, pardon me if I'm asking a redundant question or I wasn't paying attention, but does the county own all the properties in this block?
Yeah, so the county already owns the whole block.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would these cuts all stay open, the road cuts?
You mean the physical?
Just the ability to access. I mean, there's four for
Ingress,
cuts.
egress.
Yeah, well, so the one that runs, that runs east-west, it actually doesn't have ingress egress on the west side, as it currently is. That's all curb. So that's why I say, I don't think you could not, get from Washington Street to Lake Street without having to drive over a curb.
Gotcha.
The north-south one, I'm not sure what the plan is for that. I know that the goal is to expand parking, so whether that would remain open for some period of time, I don't know how long. And I think eventually that would, the intent would be that would be more for a parking area. So whether those ingress egress on the north and south would remain open, that I'm not quite sure on.
But I guess to Diane's point, would a fire truck be able to access at least the north-south alley behind these existing buildings? I mean, I gotta assume those are gonna stay open because it's gonna be a parking lot. People have to be able to get in and out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be, yeah, I mean, I think you would have, and my guess is that, that probably what ultimately happens, again, would be an expansion of that parking lot, and so I think, yeah, there would be some kind of opening there, obviously, that would be accessible if you did have fire or other emergency vehicles.
I mean, this is
that had to
obviously
get through.
similar to the Lake City Bank situation.
Right, that's what I was
And I know we all
thinking
had
of.
similar questions, so I think those are fair questions when you're doing both north, south, and east-west alleyways.
Well, I know my wife uses that alley quite a bit.
Okay, well, we got at least one that uses it. Okay.
And, yeah, and what she does, she's quite active in extension clubs and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And they store a lot of stuff in there.
Uh-huh.
And just like tomorrow, she's got, 300 or 400, well, 300, I'll say, letters. It's gonna be mailed. I'm gonna be sitting there in this alley, and she's gonna be carrying them out and putting them in the vehicle.
Uh-huh.
So we can take them to the post office. Otherwise, I'd be setting out in the middle of Main Street.
Right.
waiting. And I think you'd rather have me in the alley than on Main Street.
That would probably be better, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in the plans that I have seen, at this point, but don't hold me to this, because it could change, but I mean, the plans that I have seen would basically leave that north-south strip as kind of an alley, if you will, through the parking lot. So, I mean, I think it would remain, but again, that would be, whether those plans would change and what may ultimately happen with that whole area, I couldn't say for sure. But I mean, those buildings and the property all through there is actually owned, obviously, by the county. So, so the county's not, obviously not worried enough about having those alleyways vacated as far as any issues with getting fire and emergency service to their buildings that are located along there.
Tell me you're gonna put a parking garage there.
That would be nice. That would be nice. We could use I mean, and again, that's the whole issue. And if you drive by there on an afternoon or something like that during a weekday, I mean, you can see that parking lot is pretty well capacity.
Yeah, it's
So-
very, very full all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Chad, does that curb on the west side of the north-south alley
Mhm.
that runs from Main Street to Fort Wayne Street, does that curb hemming in the parking lot, if you will, does it run from Main Street up to Fort Wayne Street?
I believe so.
Pretty much.
So you
Yeah.
can't get into that parking lot really from any of those alleys,
No.
You have to
no,
come in.
No.
through the entrance to the parking lot.
Right, yeah, there's an entrance on the north side of the parking lot and on the
Two.
south side, and that's how you get in. Yeah, it's not accessible from the west or the east.
So is your plan to leave them open? So in Jerry's case, so if people do need to pick up or drop off, there's a way to do it without having to park in the street?
The plans that I have seen, and again, don't hold me to this, because I don't know if they've really been finalized or anything like that, but I think that what I have seen, at least for the foreseeable future, would basically, yeah, leave that open, but as a, as kind of a strip running through the parking lots. I mean, it would kind of be a part of the parking lot, but I don't know that it would be blocked off.
Well, it's
I mean,
not part of the parking lot now, because you just told me there's a curb that runs through there.
Right. I think that the parking lot would be kind of redesigned a little bit.
It's sounding to me like you guys have some questions you'd like to have answered. Am I hearing you correctly?
Well, if I might add, I'm very familiar with that block, having gone to the Christian church there that was there for many years, and you haven't seen much activity because we left about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There's not only a curb, but there's a grade difference.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned with it since the county owns all the properties surrounding it.
Right.
I would imagine that any development that they would make to this area, or any improvements they would make to this area, they would, if anything, they'd probably remove the grade, but they'd have to deal with NIPSCO and and all that sort of thing too. And like any other building, they would have to leave access to the door that they've got there at the back of the old church. And I believe that's, isn't that a welfare building there as well?
I'm not sure what all they've got in there, but they've got a couple different offices in there.
But I
so,
would
yeah.
imagine just like, any buildings that we might put up on a big tract of land with a parking lot surrounding it, they're gonna have to leave some sort of access to it in and out. I mean, I would imagine that's code.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned with it myself, really.
Well, and yeah, and I mean, I think your point's well taken, that really you're dealing with, again, with county buildings, so the questions of access would all be things that, I mean, they're county buildings, so I mean, I think that the county would do what it could to make sure that it left good access to be able to get to into its buildings, because Jerry, I think that's like, you're talking about dropping off brochures or something, that's into one of the county's buildings, right?
Now, I know, well, yeah, she's always in and out of there. It makes it a lot easier to pick her up there at that side building, with doors, than it does out front, because I can sit there in the side door, not hold up traffic.
Right.
If she's a little slow moving.
Oh.
She isn't most of the time.
Well, and again, those are all county buildings through there. So I mean, I think that obviously the county's going to want to make sure that it leaves good access to be able to get in and out of its buildings. And I mean, same thing with emergency and fire and any services, that sort. I mean, I think the county is going to want to make sure that it leaves good access to that. And I guess to the extent that it doesn't leave good access, it's the county that's going to suffer. But I mean, I think that obviously that's something that they would take into account. But if you guys want, I can bring at your next meeting, since this is just a first reading. I mean, I can try to bring back a little bit more information as to what kind. I mean, again, I'm not sure that there are any firm plans, but I could maybe provide what they're kind of sort of considering. I mean, the main thing just is the county saying, hey, we're busting at the seams parking wise, so they're trying to figure out a way to get some more parking, basically.
I think it gives you flexibility in making those decisions on what you're going to do with it. So I would ask on first reading, and I'm going to defer to city attorney regarding this not having an ordinance number on it tonight. Let him address that on first reading and talk about second reading, and then you all can decide what you want to do.
So there's been an ordinance number reserved for this petition to vacate the alley. The proposed ordinance number is 2019-0601. That will be put on the actual ordinance that you will approve if you approve this petition to vacate an alley.
So their vote tonight would just get it to that second reading,
Correct.
and you would still have all the opportunity to bring back information, question, and then make the final decision at the next meeting. Or if you'd prefer to wait, it's all up to you.
I move that we approve the first reading for this.
Okay, there's been a motion made, is there a second?
I would second it.
All right, any further discussion?
I would say that, you referred to a previous instance like this with the bank and the church down here. And that was different, because at that point, there were different owners within the same amount of property that was being addressed. And I think I was wanting to be more careful on that one, that the church had been approached and everything was good with neighbors at that point.
And we did have issues when the fire chief was consulted,
Yeah.
that was not a good plan. So I think in addition to what you might do with this, I would just like a clear from Chief Wilson that, yeah, we're okay with this, we can get in and do what we need to do.
At
If
least
you end up blocking it off.
As it is.
Uh-huh.
That's a good suggestion as well.
The other difference is the bank did have a plan, and they articulated that plan, I think, 2 times to us. So we knew what we were dealing with.
I think it'd be helpful if you bring more information into for that second reading.
Okay, yeah, I can bring, and again, I think they would be preliminary. That would be the only thing that would concern me is that, I mean, it may not end up being exactly what I would bring, but I'm happy to bring at least, again, a preliminary plan on that, so.
All right, there's motions been made and seconded. All in favor on first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. All right, other matters come before the council tonight?
I want to make sure that you guys all found your timeline for the budget season that I gave you, and so you can reserve those dates.
Most of those dates are set by state statute, and I think there's a little wiggle room in there on the final adoption, October 7th. I don't think the budget needs to be approved till the end of October, but this gives us an extra meeting if necessary. I think Lynn did a good job going through and looking at these dates. You'll also notice that on the, typically on the first couple meetings, or the 2 meetings in August, we start at 6 o'clock, so be sure and note that. This year, we will not be doing non-for-profit requests at the council. That will all occur with the committee, and then they'll make their recommendations when we go through the council budget and talk about professional services in the council budget, and then we can get down if there's any discussions on those at all.
So if we have questions specific for a certain nonprofit, should go to the committee meetings?
That's the way the committee wanted to set it up.
Okay,
And
that's
if
fine.
If the committee calls some of those non-for-profits back into their meeting, I would assume you'd be welcome to come as long as there's only 3 of you there. So, but yeah, that's kind of how it was set up. Does the committee have any thoughts on that? I mean,
When will those
requests
meetings
aren't
start?
due until the end of, they're due at the end of June, so there'll be essentially a month before those are presented, if not maybe even 6 weeks. We may not present until the second meeting in August, when we do the council budget.
That would be helpful, yeah.
So I'll give you a little extra time. But this is the first time we're doing it this way, so, nothing's set in stone. I think I'm going to defer to the committee on that, and if anybody has questions, or if you guys get, you're going to make the recommendation to the council at that point, but I'm sure you guys can figure that
Cindy
out.
and Diane, who else is on?
Jeff.
Okay, great.
It's actually Mike, Jeff, and Cindy on the task force.
And actually, I haven't gotten anything back yet, but I did have one nonprofit said they really liked the new format. So, just so you know, there's one positive note so far.
We'll take
I've
all
had
the
a couple
positive
who
we
talked
can
to
get.
me, so
Yeah,
I
we
know
are.
they're working on it.
Good. All right.
Mayor, question about the next council meeting. Is there a reason it was changed?
Thursday,
It's
18th,
on th- Thursday. Before
Thursday before 13th.
would be the next actual council meeting. Yeah, the 13th.
It might be that I'm on vacation the following week.
Can I call your wife and check?
No, I think that's why it was changed.
Okay. So is that noted by everybody then, that the next meeting is actually on Thursday, the 13th then, instead of our regular meeting time? Okay.
All right.
So make a note of that too. You're welcome, Chad.
Any other matters come before the council? Visitors? Hi, Randy.
Good afternoon, I guess it's evening now. I'm Randy Shepherd, I'm with the Fair Association. I'm here to invite you guys to the opening ceremonies at our fair, which is coming up on July the 7th. Our opening ceremonies will be on the 7th at 6 p.m. They'll be down in the Horse Arena, and we would like for you guys to come and be recognized within the community. So I want to invite you to that.
Did you say at 6
At 6 p.m.
on the 7th?
on the 7th. The fair.
Thanks. For some reason, I couldn't open the attachment that you sent
Yeah.
us, so thank you for coming.
Stacy opened that. I'll have her send that to all of you. We all had the same problem, but she got it open, so we'll make sure and get it out.
Okay, thank you. The fair this year runs from the 7th through the 13th of July. And I would also like to ask if we could use the garbage truck again this year. That's a big help for us. And if we could receive that help and get it on Saturday before we start, makes things a little bit easier for us. We also would like to ask if we could get some help currently with getting rid of some leaves that's on the fairgrounds. We have no means of disposal of those leaves, and they're quite a large amount, and we want to be good neighbors. We don't want our leaves going over onto the neighbors. So I would ask that we could get some help to try to get those off, would be of great service for us.
Do you have them all in one place?
We have them gathered in an area that we could just go in and suck them up and take them away.
Randy, why don't you call me and I'll talk to the street department about both those requests. I see no reason why we can't do those.
Okay, I'll give you a
So
call in a
just
few
give me a
weeks.
whistle and we'll take care of that for you.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
All right? All right, anyone else? All right, well, thanks for your attendance. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Wait, I just want to say one thing. I think we should acknowledge that Lynn's in charge of the conference this coming week for the state. For all of
Co-chair.
the
Co-chair.
Co-chair. Toot your horn, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's our annual ILMCT conference, and
Which stands for?
Indiana League of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers. And our conference is going to be in Fort Wayne, and Carrie Mugford, the clerk treasurer from North Manchester, is the president of our league this year. So she asked me and Deb Twitchell, who's the clerk treasurer from Angola, to be her co-chairs. So we've been working on it for the last 6 months or so, and it's all coming to a head, and we're looking forward to everything coming together right, like we're hoping.
All right. There's a brand-new art exhibit out in the hallway. I think it's fantastic. Take a minute to enjoy it on your way out. Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right. Thank you. Anything to sign, Lynn?
Yes.
All right, don't run away.
Hey, but.
Got those rocks in, thanks for. Right amount.
Will you do me a favor?
Yeah, I have a little extra, but I'll
Stacy,
put it on mine.
tell her that.
Yeah,
Have her
thank
call
you.
council if you want to change the meeting.
Okay.
But I don't, you know,
They had planned for.
do it sooner than later.
Yes.
Till 5 on Friday. Really? Okay. That's good to know.
I don't
Okay.
see that.
And you're in there
I don't
full
see
time?
it.
So those, of that pile.